Folks, welcome back to the Presidential Podcast, Today in History, the only podcast where you learn more about the past than you ever learned in school. Believe me, because let's face it, schools aren't what they used to be. They're teaching pronouns now instead of history. But here, we do it right. September 10th, people say, Mr. President, it's just another day. Wrong, wrong. September 10th is a day of tremendous importance. So many things happen, some good, some very, very bad, some so boring. They make Joe Biden look exciting, but together they tell us a story about war, betrayal, sewing machines, guillotines, rock music, even Canadians pretending to be independent. We'll cover it all. It's going to be beautiful. Segment 1. The assassination at Montereau, 1419. So let's start way back. 1419, France. They're at war with England, 100 Years' War. Very long, very boring name. Should have just called it the war that wouldn't end, like the Mueller investigation. Anyway, on September 10th, John the Fearless, Duke of Burgundy, good name, strong branding, goes to meet the Dauphin of France. Should have been a peace meeting. Should have been, let's shake hands, fight the English. Instead, boom, assassinated on the bridge, stabbed right there. And what happens? Instead of uniting against England, France explodes into even more chaos. Burgundy teams up with the English. Total disaster. It's like if Ron DeSantis joined Joe Biden's cabinet. Nobody wins and everyone's miserable. This assassination backfired so badly that France almost lost the whole war. Shows you sometimes killing the competition only makes the competition stronger. Believe me, I've seen it with CNN's ratings every time they thought they were destroying me. Segment 2, the Battle of Pinky, 1547. Now, jump ahead, 1547, the Battle of Pinky Clough. Don't ask me to pronounce it. It sounds like a bad nail polish color. England versus Scotland. The English crush the Scots, totally obliterate them. Cannons, cavalry, even boats firing from the water. Thousands of Scots dead. Huge tactical victory. And why? Because England wanted to force a marriage between Edward VI and Little Mary, Queen of Scots. Romantic, right? No. Creepy. Very creepy. And here's the twist. After all this slaughter, the Scots say, forget it. They send Mary off to France instead, strengthen their alliance with France. So England's big victory turns into a gigantic political failure. Classic. It's like buying Twitter for $44 billion and realizing you just bought a headache. Tremendous win on paper. Total flop in reality. Segment 3, the Battle of Lake Erie, 1813. Now, here's one I actually like. 1813, War of 1812. September 10th, Oliver Hazard Perry. Fantastic name. Hazard's right in the middle. The guy was dangerous. Takes command after his first ship is destroyed. Transfers in a rowboat under heavy fire like a real hero. Not one of these fake ones on TV, and takes over the Niagara, then smashes the British, captures an entire squadron, writes his famous line, "We have met the enemy, and they are ours." Beautiful. Very Trumpian, actually. Sounds like one of my rally speeches. And here's the key. This was not just a flashy win. It actually worked. Gave America control of Lake Erie, forced the British out of Detroit, changed the whole war. Strategic success, not just tactical. Big lesson here. Sometimes you win on the battlefield and actually win the war too. Amazing concept. Wish more politicians understood it. Segment 4, the Treaty of Saint-Germain, 1919. Now let's fast forward to 1919, the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye. Fancy French name for goodbye Austria-Hungary. The empire was gone, sliced and diced into Czechoslovakia, Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Italy, Romania. Austria left tiny, landlocked, and told, "You can't join Germany." That's like telling Elon Musk he can't buy another company, only makes him want it more. And that's exactly what happened. Austria resented it, Hitler exploited it, and boom, World War II less than 20 years later. See, the treaty was supposed to make peace, but instead it planted the seeds for the next big war. Very common mistake. Politicians love short-term fixes. Just like Biden, every time he speaks, it solves nothing but guarantees another crisis. Segment 5. Canada declares war independently, 1939. And here's a fun one. 1939, World War II starts. Britain declares war on Germany. Canada says, hold on, we'll decide for ourselves. A week later, September 10th, they declare war too, but independently. First time ever. Canada standing on its own 2 feet. They wanted to prove they weren't just Britain's little brother. Kind of adorable, like Eric Trump insisting he's independent. But it worked. Canada fought bravely, built a real national identity. And I'll tell you, Canadian troops, tough guys, hockey players with rifles, you don't mess with that. Segment 6, Elias Howe and the Sewing Machine, 1846. Switching gears, 1846. Elias Howe patents the sewing machine. People don't realize how big this was. Before that, every piece of clothing had to be hand-stitched. Imagine that. Your pants taking 6 months. Unbelievable. Howe's machine changed everything. Mass production, fashion industry, home sewing. But here's the kicker. He invented it, went broke, came home to find Isaac Singer stealing his idea. Lawsuits everywhere. Singer had the fame, Howe had the patent, so they fought for years. It was like Coke versus Pepsi, but with needles. In the end, Howe got rich. Tremendous. Shows you sometimes the patent lawyers make more money than the inventors. Very sad. Very true. Segment 7, the guillotine's final use, 1977. Now, September 10th, 1977, France finally used the guillotine for the last time. Last beheading in the Western world. Incredible it lasted that long. America had disco, Star Wars, and France was still chopping heads like it's the French Revolution. Hamida Jandoubi was the last man executed. Not a nice guy, but still, by guillotine, that's commitment. And then 4 years later, they banned the death penalty altogether. So in the end, the last slice of the blade was also the end of the guillotine era. Honestly, I'm shocked France didn't try to make it a tourist attraction. They love that stuff. Segment 8, the Large Hadron Collider, 2008. 2008, CERN activates the Large Hadron Collider. Biggest scientific machine ever built. Cost $8 billion. That's like half a Trump Tower. They wanted to smash particles together at nearly light speed. See what happens. Some people panicked. It's going to make a black hole. The Earth will disappear. Didn't happen. Fake news. What had happened? They found the Higgs boson, the God particle. Explains why matter has mass. Incredible stuff. Honestly, I would have named it the Trump particle. It sounds stronger, but still, huge scientific success. Segment 9, Abebe Bikila wins barefoot, 1960 Olympics, Rome. Ethiopian runner Abebe Bikila wins the marathon, barefoot, first black African Olympic gold medalist, runs past the stolen Axum obelisk, wins in the capital of his country's former occupiers. Beautiful symbolism. Take that, fascists. And no shoes. Nike must have been furious. His victory wasn't just about running. It was about pride, independence, proving Africa could dominate in sports, and they have ever since. Shows you don't need fancy sneakers to make history, just guts, determination, and very tough feet. Segment 10, desegregation in Alabama, 1963, Alabama. 20 black students integrate schools in Birmingham, Mobile, and Tuskegee. Governor George Wallace had promised segregation forever, but JFK federalized the National Guard, told Wallace, step aside. And those kids walked in Incredible bravery. Think about it. Kids, teenagers facing mobs of hatred just to get an education. They weren't just going to school, they were making history. Tremendous courage. Reminds us freedom isn't always fireworks and parades. It's often walking into a classroom with your head held high. Segment 11, Guinea-Bissau independence, 1974. 1974. Guinea-Bissau gains independence from Portugal. After years of guerrilla war led by Amilcar Cabral and the PAIGC, Portugal finally says, okay, fine. Of course, it only happened because Portugal's dictatorship collapsed in the Carnation Revolution. Dictatorships always fall, folks, eventually, even the ones with very bad hairlines. This was huge. It showed Africa's liberation movements could win. Guinea-Bissau was small, but it inspired many others, proof that colonialism was on its way out. Segment 12, Picasso's Guernica returns, 1981. 1981, Picasso's Guernica returns to Spain. For decades, it stayed in New York because Picasso said it couldn't go back until Spain was free from Franco's dictatorship. Franco dies, Spain becomes democratic, and finally Guernica goes home. That painting, powerful stuff, anti-war, anti-fascism, total masterpiece. Its return was like Spain saying, we're back. We're free. Imagine if Mount Rushmore was stolen and only returned once America had a good president again. Well, we'd be waiting a long time under Biden. Segment 13. Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirits, 1991, 1991. Nirvana releases Smells Like Teen Spirit, where boom, grunge goes mainstream, out goes glam rock, in comes flannel angst and not washing your hair. The song became an anthem for Generation X. Kids sick of the plastic, shiny 80s. It was rebellion, alienation, the sound of saying, we don't care, and it sold millions. Funny how not caring makes you rich. I should know. I ran for president mostly because I was bored, and look what happened. Tremendous success. In conclusion, so there you have it, September 10th, a day of assassinations, battles, treaties, independence, inventions, and music. From John the Fearless to Kurt Cobain, from guillotines to sewing machines, from barefoot marathons to particle colliders. The lesson: history is unpredictable. Sometimes victories backfire. Sometimes failures inspire revolutions. Sometimes the biggest machines destroy, and sometimes they discover. But the one constant, people fighting to be heard, to be free, to make their mark, whether on a battlefield, in a courtroom, or on a guitar. And that, folks, is September 10th, a day that proves history is never boring unless Joe Biden tells it.